Hi, I am Jessica from Treasured Families, and I'm here with my daughter Camille today, and we are super excited to interview Joe Price. He is a professor of economics at Brigham Young University, and he's the director of the BYU Record Linking Lab. His lab combines machine learning and human insight to auto-index historical records, link people across records, and grow the family tree. Joe and his wife, Emily, live in Springville and are the parents of 7 children. Welcome, Joe.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
Great. Well, we have been super excited to do this interview. I am the family history geek of this pair right here. And so this is just very exciting for me. But we decided that Camille should probably ask most of the questions because she says that we family history people tend to overcomplicate things. So I'm going to let her take the lead for most of the questions here.
So one question that I had was, how does a professor of economics get into family history?
Yeah, Camille, that's a great question. I mean, I discovered family history at BYU Education Week. I was just sitting in a class, and I just got excited about doing family history, so I started doing it. And I didn't have a fantastic experience. I actually had a pretty hard time when I first got started. I probably spent about 20 hours and didn't find anyone that I could add to the tree, and I almost gave up. And then I found a person, and then after that, it got easier, and I've just loved it. So I had it as a hobby first, and I didn't know how it was related to economics until I was talking to Martha Bailey. She's a professor at the University of Michigan, and I asked her what project she's working on, and she says that she was trying to link together all the records in Ohio. And that was the first time it clicked that economics and family history are really trying to do the same thing, which is follow people over time, link people together with their families, follow people as they move around the country or get a new job or get married or have kids. That's really what economics, that's a big part of what economics is about.
That's so cool. So I kind of like checked out the website and I really enjoyed the games. So I was wondering, other than the games, like what is your job, I guess? Like, okay. Can you go a little more into that?
Yeah, so the games are actually something slightly different. That's the Family History Technology Lab, and they've been doing games for a long time. And I've always loved those games as a way to kind of draw me into family history. What I've been focusing on is really 3 things. One is how to extract data from images. So think of this as what we'd normally call indexing. I like to then think about how to take the data that I pull from an image and turn it into usable data. So labeling things as names, dates, and places. Then linking that data to other records about the person. And then looking for ways we can engage humans and machines to work together to grow the family tree.
That is really cool. So I guess kind of to dumb it down a little for me, I was just wondering, like, where exactly do you work and like how do you kind of go about doing all of that?
Oh yeah, yes, I work at BYU. I'm on the 2nd floor of the Westview building. I've got a nice view out over Utah Lake. I have about 55 BYU students that work for me. They have a computer lab downstairs, so I go down to the computer lab several times a day to check on how things are going. Yeah, most of the time we're just working on computers, writing code, thinking about ways that we can create better experiences for people that are doing family history for the first time.
So I'm going to chime in with a question here. How do you guys decide what projects you're going to work on? Where do you get your ideas?
I mean, a lot of times people approach us about something that they're thinking about doing. Sometimes they're motivated by a research question that we want to answer. So we have a research question about the impact of immigration on the local labor market. So we did a project with some specific cities that had a lot of immigrants that arrived in the 1910s. We have a project about anti-German discrimination during World War I. And so we gathered a lot of data about German Americans. So some of our projects are driven by a research project. Some are driven by someone else that approaches us. And then we love working with Family Search because oftentimes there's something they're trying to do and we love to be able to see if there's a way we can help.
That's really cool. What are some projects that you're like currently working on that what would you say is what you're most excited about?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing I'm the most excited about at a personal level. My family has 7 kids, And so one of my kids is living up in Washington right now. And
that's where we are.
Oh, really? No way. Yeah. So he's right now in Bellingham. But prior to that, he was in Anacortes. And so, I was trying to think of like how to stay connected with my son, how to like help him in the work he's doing. And so I decided that we were going to start to help to grow the tree for Skagit County, Washington. And so we've just been working kind of as a group and having volunteers help us. And at this point, I'm pretty sure everyone that lived in Skagit County between 1900 and 1920 is on the family tree. And now we're starting to bring in yearbooks, biographies, obituaries, photo collections. We want it to be that anyone that has family from Skagit will get on the family tree and have a discovery experience. And then the neat thing is in the process of creating this fully connected community on the tree, we're learning a lot about when did census enumerators miss people? What happens to people's names over time? Why is it sometimes hard to link certain people? So we're learning a lot about the linking process by looking at one specific community where we have really rich data.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so we live in Washington and we want Washington to be really accessible. So what can people like us do to help?
Yeah,
or
so
even people who don't live in Washington.
What part of Washington do you guys live in?
So we live a little bit south from there. We live near Tacoma.
Tacoma, okay, fantastic. So let me share my screen and just show you a fun experience you can do right away. And I've been doing this for a long time. So here, I'll just share my screen really quick. Okay, do you guys see my screen okay? Just my desktop. Okay, so here's the map. This is something we call the map app. But I was just doing my name. So one way you can use the map app is you can type in a family name. So my last name is Price. So I type in Price, and then these dots right here that you see on the screen, these are all families with the last name Price. And so I can pick a place. So I could be like, oh, my family's from Ohio. So I'm going to click on Ohio. Actually, I got Kentucky there. That's okay. I was right on the border. And what it's going to do is just drop me right into SourceLinker. And so you can see right here, I'm looking at a family. And so on the right, these are Prices who are already on the tree. And on the left is a census record. This is the 1910 census record. And the thing I love about this is that even with my daughter, who's 6, I can start to teach her a little bit about family history. So like the question I would ask Molly is I'd say, Molly, do you think this person is the same as this person? And so right away, Molly's going to start to learn to look for clues. She's going to look at Sally and Price in 1873 in Kentucky. Then we'll say, let's look at James and let's look at Sadie. So notice we have multiple people lining up. So this is definitely a good match. And then we come down and I'll say to her, well, what should I do with George? So notice Daniel's there, Annie's there, but George, that's kind of weird. He's kind of missing. And you can see there is a bit of a birth year gap right there. So George could fit in there. He's a little close to Benjamin, but actually if you look at him, it just says 1867. So let's imagine Benjamin was actually born in 1866. Then George would fit perfectly into this family. And so what I would do then is I'd hit compare, add, attach. I'd hit compare, add, attach. So I'm attaching sources right now. And the cool part is then so I'm going to do all the ones that were like already there. Now with George, here's the cool part. George wasn't there, so I'm going to hit add. And it's going to let me create a new person. And so I just put George on the tree for the first time. And every time I do that, I think of the time. So my oldest son is Joseph. We went camping and we forgot him and we left him behind. And like 2 hours later, we realized, oh my goodness, we left Joseph behind. And I was so scared. And when we finally found him, I was just so happy to have him back in our family. And that's how I kind of feel when I do this. Like George was not there with his family for all this time. And now he is. And so it's like this family reunion. Let's go take a look at this Price family. So now here I am on the tree. And I can hit view my relationship. And notice that this is actually my 8th cousin. So I didn't know that going in. All I knew was I'm going to search for people with the last name Price. But I find that if I work on people with my surname, then I'll often find cousins while I'm working on it. Now let's do your example. So what county is Tacoma in? Do you happen to know? Is it Pierce County? So Camille, do you know what county Tacoma is in? Oh, let's see. Let's see. Can you guys hear me okay? Oh, sorry, you guys were on mute really quick. Yeah. So Camille, what county is Tacoma in? Oh, you guys are frozen
So
up.
Tacoma is in Pierce County.
Perfect. Okay, so let me share my screen again really quick, and we'll do like, this is what, like, Camille, if you want to get on this evening, this would be a fantastic experience. So right here, I'm going to just share my screen again, and I'll show you what I would do if I were you. So right here, then I would just type in Pierce. Okay, and you can see there's Pierce, Washington. I hit search, and notice we get a bunch of dots right where you guys are living. And then what I do is I just click on one of those dots, and it's going to take me right to a family. So notice again, here we have a missing kid, Eileen. So again, great experience. We would be looking and seeing if this is a match. And this is a harder one to know if it's a match, because do you see how on the right, this family doesn't have a lot of information. So what I might do then is just go take a look at this person. And you can see that right here, he married Ina Sleeper. Let's see. So she was born in California. And so what I might do is, this one's a little harder, and you can always leave it undone. I think it's probably a match, but I might look for some record that would help me link Kenneth to his parents, Neil. So you can see like this record right here. It looks like here he was living. So it looks like he was living in Washington, and he was born in Washington. So then at that point, then I'd feel more comfortable that this is a match. I'd then attach these records and add Eileen to her family. But this is one of the, I think I love, because then I can either work on a place or a name and kind of jump right in and have a good family history experience.
Well, that's great. We missed some of that because of internet connection issues. But I love that it's able to connect to the, like, right into family search, because that's where I do a lot of my research. Now I saw that you accessed that from, could you let us know what website that is that you were on when you jumped in there to find those?
Yes, I'll drop that in the private chat right now.
Okay, awesome.
And just in general,
is there a way to access?
Oh yeah, well, and everything I show you today, if you go to rll.byu.edu, all these tools, if you go to the volunteer tab, you can use this one, you can use reverse index, and you can do mobile indexing. You can help with other projects. Like we try to put everything we do out there for people to use.
That is really great. So I'm sorry if you answered this already when we were having connectivity issues, but is there a way that we can contribute to the project? Oh
yeah, for sure. Like you guys could type in your surname, and it's actually really neat, because as you do those dots, they disappear. And so I've done a lot of youth groups where we've all been working on the same place. And there's this really exciting moment when the final dots disappear, and there's this kind of scramble to get the last few. But yeah, anyone can use the app. You just pick a place, pick a surname, you jump right in. If it runs out, just send us an email, and we will refresh it. We have lots more hints to add in.
Okay, so the idea is for us to help you take all those dots and connect them to people in family search, so that those records are available to other people, because they're not available until we connect them.
Yeah, I mean, the way to think about what my lab is doing, we're just directing traffic. So all the work's happening on family search. All we're doing is creating what we would call customized hints. So and here's the biggest change though, is in the past, we've always thought about building our own tree. So I'm building my tree, I'm finding my ancestors. What we're saying here is what we're going to do is we're going to build our tree. We're all part of the same family. And as we all work on this family tree together, we start to see our connections with each other. And so even when I'm working on a family, I might not know that they're related to me in the beginning, but as I use those records to connect them, I sometimes discover that they are in fact my family. And even if they're not my family, they're still part of my family in a broader way. And so I love helping other people with find their own ancestors.
Very cool. Very cool. All right.
That's something that I want to try now.
Seems like it would make doing your family history a lot easier, huh?
Yeah, simplified.
Well, especially for you, Camille, I bet your mom's already done a lot of the stuff for your own family. And so if we were to just drop Camille on the tree and say, go work on your own family, you'd probably hit hard stuff right away, because, you know, if it was easy, your mom's probably already done it. And so what I found is for a new person, it's not always especially if their parents love family history, it's not always the best for them to work right away on their own tree. It's better maybe to have them go help a tree that's less grown. They'll start to build up their skills and then bring them back over. Because the other neat thing we can do with the map app is we can split hints based on how hard we think they are. And we try to put the easiest hints on the map app.
That is so cool. I'm definitely going to try that later today.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Well, did I hear correctly that you were involved in developing the reverse indexing?
That's correct. Yeah,
awesome.
So for me,
so what was the inspiration?
Well, I guess I asked the question, like, what's the youngest age at which we should have people help with indexing? So I don't know, how would you answer that question? What do you guys think? Like, at what age should people start helping with indexing?
Well, they can read.
Even if they can't read, though, my little sister, you know, she's not the best reader, but
we should probably he has really enjoyed that.
Well, let me give a little demo of reverse indexing, and I'll show you what got me so excited about it. So I'll just share my screen again really quick. And so right here, so let me just show you how to get to all of these. So if you go rll.byu.edu, here's our lab's our lab's website. So if you come to volunteer, you can see there's reverse indexing, mobile indexing, customized record hints. So this is the one we did already. Let me show you reverse indexing. Oh no, this is not good. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to show you the app right at this moment. But let me pull up what I will do. Well, we'll come back to that one. I apologize. We're always making slight updates to the website, and so there must just be uploading some new hints right now. So I'm sorry that that's not going to load right at the moment. But the key thing with reverse indexing is that you, instead of typing what you see, we'll show you 12 pictures that we think are your surname. And then all you have to do is indicate which ones you don't think belong.
Oh, I love that. So Jessica and Camille are having some issues with their internet. So I'm going to hop on until they might have had them come back. We'll see if this works. Maybe.
Jessica, did that work better, or are you connected better now?
So we'll see. I'm not sure who's popping up. There we go. It's having internet issues today.
I think we're back. Are we back?
Is it working okay now?
I think so.
Okay, great. Yeah, that sounds a lot better. Great. Yeah, so I think for me with reverse indexing, my daughter couldn't read at the time, but I wanted her to learn how to read and also learn how to read old handwritten records. So with reverse indexing, I could just show her a bunch of examples of the word price, and over time she was able to learn what price looks like, and was able to kind of be involved in indexing. I think ultimately what we want to do is just include everyone in family history. So even if you have a disability that maybe makes it hard to type, it'd be fantastic if you could still index just by maybe indicating which ones you don't want to do, or which ones you don't think belong. I've also been thinking about, I just got contacted by someone that has Ottoman Empire records. So there's about 1 billion people today that have Ottoman ancestors, but almost nobody can read Ottoman records anymore. There's only a few thousand people in the world that can read Ottoman records. But we could probably, through reverse indexing, teach people how to just recognize characters well enough to throw out the things that don't belong.
Cool. And I just realized some people may not know what reverse indexing is.
Okay.
I know, thankfully, because of her.
I should have asked you to explain that before I.
Yeah. So let me pull up a picture really quick, and I'll just show that to you. So maybe let me come back to that in just a moment. Yeah, let's come back to that one. I'll show a picture so you can kind of see exactly how that works. But yeah, give me 1 second on that. I'll pull up some slides.
No problem.
But go ahead and you can ask or let's talk about something else, and I'll come right back to it.
Okay. Let's see. So you mentioned that you work with some students, and what projects have been their favorites to work on?
You know, it's been interesting how students have been involved in different ways. I love to have them try to find the right match. So I have one team that what they do is computer vision. And what computer vision is just taking a document, trying to figure out where on the page the information is, grabbing that little piece of the image, and then trying to read it. So one cool project this summer is we started working with death certificates from 1918. And we were able to focus in on cause of death. And from this, we were able to identify people who had died during the 1918 pandemic. And it's been really neat to do that and then use that data to see if there's things we can learn from that historical experience that might help us today. So I have a student that's co-authored a paper with me about towns that decided to do things and towns that decided not to do anything, and what happened, what were the consequences of deciding not to do anything. And so that's been kind of a pretty interesting project to work on, given like the current situation that we're in today.
So how many projects do you guys like work on in a year? What's the typical amount?
Probably 30 or 40. So, I mean, they're broken into teams. So the computer vision team's right now working on 5 projects. There's a record linking team. They're working on several projects. I have a Kaizen team. They're working on several projects. Yeah, so it's kind of, it sounds like a lot, but when you have 55 amazing BYU students, like any one of those students could handle their own projects. So to be honest, we could probably handle 55 projects at any time. I just think the students really love it when they get to work together on teams.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And I found that picture of reverse indexing, so I can show that to you really quick. Let me just share my screen and here we go. Okay, so if you can see my screen, these are just some slides from Roots Tech. So let me just show you, and you can watch the whole, there's a whole class on Roots Tech from this, but let me just show you what it was I was trying to get at. So right here, this is what you would see if you went to reverse indexing. So you would type in whatever you wanted. I typed in price, and then what you see on the screen, these are things that the machine thinks is the word price. So first of all, Camille, I'll ask you, is the machine doing a good job or a bad job?
It looks like it's doing a pretty good job considering the different handwritings and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine the opposite. Imagine I didn't know I was looking at the word price. Some of these, if like you just threw me in cold, I feel like, what the heck is this? Like, especially in the upper right. But you know, once I can see them kind of all next to each other, I start to see that, you know, even though P is pretty different, I start to see patterns in how P's are and E's and I's and C's and R's and I's. And so ultimately I could actually get pretty good at reading these 5 characters. Now in this case, I'd probably mark this one in the upper right as incorrect. It kind of looks like it, but I'm not totally sure. But the others are not. And so in this case, rather than typing anything, I would just click the upper right button and then hit submit. So this is my daughter Molly. And I sat down with her and had this experience, and it was really neat because at the time she couldn't even read, and she said to me, "I can't read fancy writing." But it was really neat because we started with the I, because we started to learn that the I often has this little dot, which is easy to see. Then we looked at the E, because the E's are kind of easy to tell, and then the P, and then we just both decided that the R is just a super weird letter. And that the C's often look like E's. But you could see then that she could become an expert at this particular thing. And so that's kind of that's the whole goal of reverse indexing. And it's really neat because they're starting to use this in prisons as a form of service.
That is so cool.
Wow.
I like that.
So do you know about how many names have been reversed indexed at this point?
Yes, probably like, well, so someone just emailed me this morning and told me that they've personally done 100,000.
Wow.
Isn't that awesome? And that's just like in a very short period of time. Like literally they started just a few weeks ago and they've already done 100,000, which is one of the things I love is this idea that you could become an expert at one little narrow thing within family history. I think sometimes we overwhelm people because we get excited. Those of us that have done family history for 5 years, we know a lot of family history. And so we get super excited. We're like, oh, you can do this and this and this and this. And then at the end of the class, the person's just like, oh my goodness, my head hurts. Whereas what we try to do is create these tasks that are super narrow that I could teach you how to do in 3 minutes, set you loose for an hour. And at the end of the hour, you would probably be better at that task than anyone in the world. Like Camille, you could be the expert at Camille. Like you would know what Camille looks like no matter how bad the handwriting is. Like you would know like all the different ways that C's could be written and all the ways those LLs could get blended together. And that's pretty exciting. And then I could say, Camille, would you be okay becoming the expert at a name in Czech? And you'd be like, I don't know Czech. I'd be like, that's okay. Like all you have to do is know how to read one Czech word. And every time you see that Czech word, you say yes. Every time it's not that word, you say no. You could actually become the world's expert at that one word in Czech. So to me, that's like as an economist, that's what specialization looks like. And it's a really powerful way to be productive.
That's really cool. Yeah, my mom definitely, she gets excited about things. And she's like, you can do this. I'm like, that is too many options to choose from.
Yeah.
So I like how you make it very simple for people like me who don't know it's super great.
Yeah. And more broadly, I've been trying to think of like, could someone without hands index? Could someone without eyes index? Could someone with a severe mental disability index? I think like, or I think what I felt strongly is everyone should be involved in family history in some way. And that way might be different for different people, but we should build tools that doesn't exclude anyone. And so that's been kind of really exciting to think about reverse indexing. And then the other part of it is we want to include everyone, but we also want them to have a good experience. So we're also trying to create an indexing experience within a VR environment, which I don't know is like the best way to do indexing, but at least for some kids, it'll be funner. And so.
I love the way you try to include everybody because, I mean, as somebody who's been doing family history for a long time, I've seen how it's blessed my life. I mean, it has just been incredible to be able to make those connections. And of course, I want everybody to be able to feel that and make those connections. And so I love the way that you are making this so simple so that really everyone can participate and feel that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And everyone has different interests too. So it's nice that there's, different simple projects.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, what is one thing that one advice that you would give to teenagers who are wanting to get involved in family history?
Yeah, I would probably say find a way to make it a regular habit. I think sometimes we're so used to we have this family history day and we go do family history for that day and then we're done. So my life has been just completely changed by family history in all ways that are good. And the thing that I love now is any time that I feel sad or frustrated or overwhelmed, family history is my chocolate. So, and that's not true for everyone, but for me, what I would say is find that one little thing you can do that will bring this, just bring that happiness to you. And for me, that's also why we've tried to build things that you can do on your phone. So everything I've shown you today, you can do on your phone. And so for me, when I walk from my car to my office each morning, I attach, maybe I attach 3 or 4 record hints on my way to the office. When I go to the gym and exercise, I pull out my phone and I do a little bit of family history. We were just recently in Costa Rica, and when I'd bump into people, I'd be like, "Hey, do you want to see? Do you want to see if I can find your family?" And they'd be like, "There's no way!" And so I would just get on my phone and I would just type. There's a little find feature on the app, and I just type in. I'd say, "Tell me a little bit about your dad or your grandpa." And both the people, we rented homes from 2 people, and I was related to both of them. And the neatest thing is right afterwards, they were like, "So how does this family search thing work? Can I, does it cost money? Can you help me get started?" And so I think if we can get good at just showing people something quickly that touches their heart, then family search just sells itself. It's so cool. I just think if we start by here, let me show you how to set up an account. That's not the best first experience. Or let me show you everything about family history. I think most people just want to connect, discover. And so Camille, if you could get really good at that, I bet you at school, even with your friends, it could be "Hey, do you guys want to see if we're related?" And then
we've done that before. They're That is so weird. It's crazy how pretty much I don't think I've met anyone who I'm not, even if it's very distant, I'm pretty much related to everybody. So it's kind of weird to think about.
Yeah, or even like Fred Rogers, you can be like, hey, I wonder if any of us are related to Fred Rogers. And so you can show people, or I mean, there's all these, like when Hamilton came out, like one thing we posted was how to see how you're related to different people depicted in Hamilton. And so, or Amelia Earhart, or there's like these events that come out, like a book comes out or a movie comes out. I think people have this question, like, I mean, it's ultimately like a question like, am I royal? Which is, you know, people always want to know, is there a king or queen in my ancestry? But like, for me, I've never been intrigued by royalty, but like authors, artists, musicians, those are like, I wonder if I have those talents in my tree, and that'd be kind of cool to just see.
Yeah. And even in like history class, if you're just like learning about people, let's see if we're related to them.
Yeah, I love it with Molly now. When we read picture books about real people, she always asks, she's like, do you think that person's on the tree? And I'm like, I don't know, let's find out. And so it's, if you can get good on your phone, you can just type in the name of the person. There was this book about this kid, his name was like Boxcar Johnson, and he was on the tree. It was so cool. And I don't know, like, so I think the more we just make it real and connected, it'll be kind of fun.
Yeah.
So for people who don't know, how would they check to see if they're related to those famous people?
Yeah, so let's do one right now. Do you have a favorite person that you like?
Oh, let's see. Okay, am I related to Walt Disney?
Okay. So step one is just go to the wiki page for Walt Disney. And so right here, it'll tell you when and where he was born. So he was born 1901 in Illinois. Now I'm going to show you it on the computer because I'm on a computer, but you could easily do this on a phone. So notice now I'm logged in. So I just go to Family Tree and I hit Find. And then I just type in, right here, I'm going to hit Find by name. I just type Walt Disney. And then I hit, you know, he was born in Illinois and he was born in 1901. Okay, and I just hit Find. And let's see if he shows up. Okay, so here is Walt Disney. So he was born 5th of December, 1901. So I'm going to click on him, and I'm going to hit Person. So notice now here we are on Walt Disney's page. He's got 111 sources attached. He's got 127 memories. Isn't that awesome? And what I can do then is up here in the upper right, I just hit View My Relationship. And so Walt Disney is my 8th cousin. And so he's on my mom's side. That's my creative side. So that makes sense. So then right away I can zoom up here, and I can see who my common ancestor is right here. So we have to go pretty far back to see that relationship. But that's how the discovery experience works. And the neat thing is, so Jessica, let's actually do this with you. I'll show you what I would do if I was just with someone on an airplane or in a taxi. So Jessica, tell me a little bit about one of your grandparents that's passed away.
Well, I have a great grandfather who is an oyster man, and he lived in Washington State.
Okay, so say that again. It cut out just for a second. Let's see. Try that again. What was his name?
His name was Walter Eugene Allen.
Okay, and where was he born?
He was born in Iowa.
Iowa. And do you happen to know about when he was born?
Early 1900s.
Okay, great. Or do you know when he passed away?
Yeah, I think it was 2001.
Okay, great. Because a lot of people know a lot more about when their ancestor died. And the neat thing about this is notice I can type in whatever they know. Sometimes they'll tell me about a spouse. So that can sometimes narrow it down. But let's just see if this pulls up the person we're looking for. And so is this right here, Walter Eugene Allen? What's your ancestor?
Oh.
That picture right there.
It's really small on my screen, but yeah, I think
okay, I'll make it bigger. Here we go.
So there we go. Yep,
okay,
that's him.
So now what we're going to do is the same thing we did with Walt Disney, we can do with a person that you're related to. And so now here is and now the neat thing is now you're not surprised by this information, but for many people, this moment when I show them all these photos, it can be really surprising to them that there's so much information about their grandfather on the tree. I've seen a lot of hearts touched just from these photos that are here. And then again, I hit View My Relationship. And so, so your great grandma, Frances Gilbert, is my 9th cousin. So that's kind of how we're related to each other.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I know somebody was asking, let's see if we can find it. So can anybody submit projects, and if so, then where?
Yeah, so all they do is they just send an email to rll.byu.edu, and then they can pitch their project and say, like, this is what we're thinking about. And sometimes what we'll do is just give advice on how to do what you already have in mind you want to do. And sometimes if one of our tools can help, we'll say, like, hey, maybe this will supplement what you're trying to do. And so that's probably the best way to reach out to us.
Perfect. And what's your email that we can contact you at?
So it's just the letter RLL for Record Linking Lab at BYU.edu.
She's typing that in the comments so people can see.
Yeah.
Looks like we have another comment. My kids want to know if they're related to sports figures all the time. So now you know how to show them.
Here's the other part of it, is this is why we want a connected tree, because the honest truth is your kids are probably related to a lot of the athletes. Now, here's the one tricky thing is it's hard to tell if you're related to a living athlete unless you can go look up their parent on the family tree. So like if you wanted to know if you're related to, Michael Jordan, you could look up Michael Jordan's dad on the family tree, or people like that. I think we had, so that might be one option you could look into.
That's really cool. Yeah. These are great tips for people who are wanting to make those connections right away that are really fun and exciting. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, my sister wanted to know if she was related to Lucille Ball, and I showed her that she was. And then her second question was, am I related to my husband? And I'm like, I don't know. Do you want to know? And so, but it was like 8th cousins. So that's probably fine.
Yeah. My husband got a little freaked out when we realized we were, I think it was like 10th cousins.
Yeah,
so many times we moved. He was like,
I remember when I was little, I had the realization, I was like, eventually everybody's related, so that means I can never marry anybody. And my mom was like, no, if it's so far back, it's okay.
Yeah.
Just don't go marrying your, first cousin or second cousin. It's like, okay, we're good.
But sometimes you will find people that are really related to you. I was at a YSA, or I was at a youth activity here at BYU. There's probably 800 people in the room. We did relatives around me. It was awesome. The two guys sitting right next to me who were good friends, they turned out they were second cousins, and they did not know that. That's what I love. That's what I love about this is it reconnects families in ways that we can't really fully imagine. But before we have this connected tree, and I'm really excited to create this experience in other countries. For those that went to Roots Tech Connect, you got to see how you're related to other people. Though, there are some countries in the world where that experience wasn't possible, but it'll be really neat when that experience of discovering your cousins is going to be possible everywhere.
Well, that's cool. So what project are you working on right now that is your favorite, that you're most excited about?
Well, Skagit's definitely top of the list. I've always, I'm trying to think of places in the world where it's really hard to do family history. And so one country that really has been tugging at my heart has been the Czech Republic. I actually was an exchange student in Slovakia when I was in high school. And so I've always had this particular love for that part of the world. And there's someone I know pretty well who's kind of living there right now. And so we're trying to auto-index the 1921 Czech census. And we're really excited to use this as a way to help people in the Czech Republic get started using Family Search. That's probably a project that I'm really excited about. My son's about to go live in Argentina, so I'm very excited to get involved with stuff in Argentina, though I'm going to start by helping with Uruguay. So Uruguay is right next to Argentina, and I have one of my best friends lives there in Uruguay. And so I guess here's what I'd say, what makes me excited about projects? I think that family history is a powerful way to help other people, because I think when people see their family, it changes their life. And so what I tend to do is I tend to think about what's my circle of love at the moment? Like which group of people do I most want to serve through these tools? And a lot of times what I start to think about is who are people that I love and who are the people that surround them? And so then I start to think about it in terms of communities. So my son living up in Washington, I actually just felt this immediate love for the community surrounding him, because basically they were going to be the people interacting with him on a daily basis when I couldn't. And so I started to feel love for them, and so that motivated that project. And now that I have a son going to Argentina, the question is, can you have enough love to love a whole country? And I think it's possible. I actually think it's possible to love 1 billion people, which is a totally like radical concept, but it kind of has made me more excited to go big on some of these projects when I start to realize that we can touch lots of people.
That's really cool. So what do you need to start a project in another country?
Just records. So as long as the country has good records, we can go on the family tree, find those record hints, and throw them into that map app. We recently put some on the tree for Puerto Rico, Uruguay, and then we had some people at Stanford that wanted to do an activity, but the kids at Stanford were from a bunch of different countries. And so I think we've been loading, I think there's probably 8 countries that we loaded hints onto the tree for. And then anyone that has a big enough group that really wants to like maybe do a youth activity or a community activity, like if you've got the volunteers, we'll definitely prep the hints so you can have a great, I think like at one of our youth activities, the kids added 2,400 people to the tree using SourceLinker. Now that sounds crazy. That's like a lot of people, but once you think about how SourceLinker works, you're basically just adding missing kids. You're adding spouses that got missed. You're adding parents that got missed. So really, it's not like I think people are like, oh, but what if they make mistakes? Like that hint I showed you, it's really hard to make a mistake when 4 people line up perfectly and then there's 3 kids that were missed. Like that's how you grow the tree really fast.
Yeah. Well, and those relationships are so important, to identifying those ones that are correct. And I just love that, what you shared earlier too, about that joy of reuniting somebody. I have felt that a lot. And that is always my favorite part of family history, is when I find one of those missing kids. It just, I think as a parent, it really brings it home what you're doing for these families. Yeah.
So another question that we got was, can we submit journals to be reverse indexed?
So not yet. So for reverse indexing, we're doing forms right now. So it's usually a pre-printed government form with handwriting on it. That's been our focus for reverse indexing. But there is a tool called Transcribus. It takes a little bit of babysitting, but it does work. And we have some videos that can walk you through it. I have a student that's put a lot of time into this. But I took my dad's journal from when he was a missionary for 2 years. It was about 600 pages. And all I did was I just took out my camera and I just took pictures of all the pages. I loaded them into Google Photos. I then ran those images through Transcribus. And I probably did 70 pages just by hand to give it some training data. But actually by the end, it was reading the journal really well. And so as a gift, I was able to give my dad his mission journal, which is now fully searchable. It's a big Google Doc that you can, like, if he's like, oh, what are some stories from Bozeman, or what's a story that involves a cow, or what's a story that involves Elder Johnson? Like he can search for those stories really quickly now.
Yeah, that is really cool.
It really is. So you can you spell that website that you used that you ran it through? Because I've never heard of that before. I'm excited.
I'll put it in the chat. It looks like Transcribus, but with a K.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that will be exciting to check out. I have a feeling there's a lot of people who are going to be uploading some things real quick.
But I'm glad you asked that, because that's where we're wanting to go. I mean, here's my dream. This is what I think family history is going to look like in the future. Is every one of us is sitting on a whole bunch of records and photos that other people care about, but they have no way of searching them. And this is true for our homes. This is true for our libraries, our museums, and our archives. There's needles sitting in every haystack, and we don't know where to look. So what we're hoping is that the tools will be that you'll basically grab every haystack that's sitting in your house. You'll take pictures of stuff. Those pictures will get turned into usable text, searchable text. That searchable text will be linked to people on the family tree, and that needle will be stuck on a profile on the family tree. Because, I mean, actually think of all the cool photos you have in your house right now. I have photos of kids that I hung out with in high school that I'm the only one that has that photo. This is back in the day when it was like, you like printed out the photo and only one person has the photo. And so that photo that I have might have 12 people in the photo. Well, how do those 12 people find it? Well, imagine that one of the people in the photo has passed away. One of my friends has passed away. I can tag that photo to my friend who's passed away. My friends come to that page, they see that photo, and then now suddenly that photo just like brings all 12 of us back together in a way that's pretty amazing. I really think this is what high school reunion is going to look like in the future. This is basically going to be like a huge connect-a-thon. And the neat thing is, as each year goes, more and more of your class has passed away, and it's a great way. The family tree is just a fantastic way to remember those friendships, those photos, those stories. So that's what I'm the most excited about, is basically everyone grabbing the haystack in their house or in their library or their museum, digitizing it. The tools will auto-index it. Everything will get linked together.
That's really cool. I like how, you can go past the family. You can, connect with friends, like you said. Now you can connect with family too.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so Camille posted, I have so many pictures from my grandma's youth. My mom's the photo keeper in our family, and she's been putting them all on Family Search and trying to tag people in the photos. And it's been such a cool experience. The other thing I'd say is, like, the neat thing is once you attach a source to someone, people will start to contact you. And so because I'd attached a source to one of my great uncles, someone just out of the blue that lives here in Payson said, I have this letter that your grandpa wrote to his aunt. And so, and he also has had some photos. And so literally they just dropped off this like package of stuff for me that was sitting in their house that they didn't care about, but is actually like an absolute treasure for my family to see, like a handwritten note from my grandpa, because he was an orphan. And so he'd kind of lived with a few different families, but this letter was to his aunt, and it was just like a real treasure to get.
Wow, that is great.
Really cool.
So for any of you out there not attaching sources, start doing it, right? We're not going to show up on your doorstep. No, that's great. I love all these ideas of ways that we can connect with each other. Well, I think we're just about up with our time. We just really want to thank you for sharing all these wonderful resources with us and for taking the time to develop them. And we look forward to seeing more projects coming out in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. This was great.